Hey everybody, this is Moose Interviews here, and I am here with Freddie Williams II. I just want to say again, thank you for doing the interview with me.
Yeah.
And so, for my first question, it's just like you work with on a really big project you're really well known for is Batman crossover with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that experience like for you, combining these two different things, with Batman being such a dark character and the Teenage Turtles being such a big, fun, colorful concept. So what was that like doing that?
Yeah, for me the sort of the grittiness actually in the Ninja Turtles. If you read the very original ones, like I'm a lot older than you are, so when the Ninja
comics,
yeah, so the Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird stuff was very gritty when it first came out, and that is kind of what I was inspired by. A lot more than the sort of more lighthearted version of them that kind of came out later. Mm-hmm. And so that gritty version, I think, melds really well with Batman being dark and gritty. But how it came about was that I had heard that IDW and DC Comics were doing some crossovers, and they did I saw it announced on Twitter that they had greenlit, or that they had come out with the Green Lantern Star Trek crossover. And I thought, oh, that's great. That means that they probably have some other crossovers going, starting to come up. And so I just took a stab in the dark and emailed one of my editors and said, hey, if you have a Batman Ninja Turtles crossover in the works, please keep me in mind. And then I emailed them some artwork that I had done. And it just so happened that they were talking about artists like that day, like no joke, that day. And so Jim Chadwick, my editor, wrote me back. And at that time, he was just like, okay, thank you. We'll keep that in mind. But later he told me, he was joking that I must be psychic because they were talking about it that day. It came in at the perfect time, so I just really, really lucked out that I got to draw it, and it's like the coolest book I've ever had a chance to work on.
Yeah, like a lot of people like it. I enjoy it as well. So, like, what was going through your mind when you had to come up with the concept idea of the concept art for Batman and for the Ninja Turtles? Because you had to make them seem like, in a way, they're in the same world or in the same. The same, where it doesn't it feels like naturally they're like, okay, they're, it doesn't feel too off or it feels too different.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I mean, what you're touching on is a good point, because there is a problem with that. Like, how I draw Batman in this universe is probably different than how I would draw Batman if I was drawing a Batman comic, because the sort of stoutness of the Turtles, they're very wide, that I want Batman, even though he's tall, I wouldn't want to make him, I want to make him kind of beefy as well. So the main thing was about I did some practice sketches ahead of time. Like, once they approved that I would be the artist for the series, I did a bunch of pencil studies and tried to make the characters feel right together. So I did like a render study that was an ink wash with all the characters in a lineup, and then I did a bunch of solo characters, and they just looked right together. So it was just mainly about practice and getting my bearings down, and my editors liked it, so we were good to go.
Mm-hmm. So, like, is there any other artists that inspire you or anything like that keep you going as an artist, or like any in the industry, or anything that aren't in the industry, or
There's quite a few. My favorite artist for a long time has been Jim Lee. He's also kind of my boss because he's co-publisher at DC Comics, but yeah, but anyway, even before that, back whenever he was doing Marvel work and stuff, he was definitely a huge inspiration. Arthur Adams is another artist who I draw a lot of inspiration from, and other than that, there's a really long list. There's an artist who hasn't been in the industry for probably 10 or 15 years. He hasn't been in the industry much. His name is Travis Charest, or Charest. And he's an incredible artist. He was a big influence on me as well. But I'm not sure what he's doing. I hope that he comes back to comics and does some more work. But there's a long, Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, David Finch. I mean, there's a real long list that I could go through. Right. But mainly JimLee and Arthur Adams are my two big ones.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you're going to be, that you're working on at the moment that you can tell anyone, or anything? Or
I wish I could tell you. Yeah, there's something that I just started. It's another crossover. It's for DC Comics. It probably won't be announced, though, for another couple months. Mm-hmm. So after Batman Ninja Turtles, I did He-Man Thundercats. That was a 6-issue miniseries. Issue 6 just came out 2 months ago. So meaning it didn't end it didn't end that long ago. But I'm about to start another book. It's another 6 issue. I can't say what it is yet. They'll probably announce it soon though.
Yeah. But is there anything something that another crossover that you would like to do, or anything that you have, like, if you could come up with a dream crossover that you could draw, what would that be?
I just want to draw Batman Ninja Turtles for the rest of my life. That would be probably the coolest thing. No, but there's I would love to draw more Thundercats with Silverhawks mainly. I'm not sure if you had heard of that or knew about that.
I know the Silverhawks.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay, that was something that started coming out right when I was starting to get out of that sort of era of my childhood or something like. But that was a really cool concept. And other than that, I would love to do a Daredevil Ninja Turtle crossover if that could ever happen. I don't know if it would, because Disney owns Marvel, and I don't know if they do crossovers as much. Because the Ninja Turtles sort of origin is kind of linked cursorily with Daredevil, because the same type of radioactive stuff that hits Daredevil in the face, if you read like the old Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird stuff, that same canister could have also been what mutated the turtles. Yeah, it's and
you could have like an idea where the hand links up with the foot. Kind of like what the League of Assassins does with the foot. That sounds like a really good. That'd be a really cool idea.
I'd love to do that. I don't know if it ever comes up. I would be super happy if I ever had a chance to draw that. I don't know. We'll see.
So, as an artist, you have to, especially someone in the industry, you have to constantly, in a way, pump out art, and like also you do art for yourself as well, just for fun. But like as an artist, how do you keep yourself motivated to be like to keep drawing and keep going every single day?
A lot of it comes down to necessity of deadlines. I mean, my wife and I are we've built our life around being flexible for drawing comics and stuff. Like, we don't have children, we're okay not seeing our friends and family. They understand because my wife helps me in the art and stuff like that. But the point that I'm making is, if the deadline says it needs to be done on the 20th or whatever, we have to do whatever we have to do to hit that deadline, and that means just a lot of long hours. And you don't really, that sort of schedule and constant turnaround keeps you from having like art block or feeling less motivated, because it's like you have to do it. And that's just been always in my work ethic. But if I have downtime, the kind of stuff that I like to draw is like really loose pencil-y sort of stuff, but I tend still to draw the same subject matter. It's just always, it's interesting to me. I want to draw Ninja Turtles and Batman the rest of my life, so
I can tell like that was like for one, that a lot of people have heard about you, and also for one has gotten you also, just like I can tell you're really passionate about the Ninja Turtles and Batman crossover. So like, is there any chance that they said we want to do a sequel to it? Would you be down to do the art for it?
I'd be all over it. Yeah, I would. If they wanted to do a sequel, I would be super happy to draw it, however long it is. If they said we want to do a sequel that's 200 issues long, I'd be like, I'm in. And there was just on a side note, there was a kind of a sort of like a different series that was like Batman Ninja Turtles, the animated adventures, that a good friend of mine named John Simariva, he got to draw it. And that's actually a really good series. Like, visually, it's not as gritty and stuff, but the way he draws, like, you can see, it's like the characters are moving on the page because he's so good at drawing cartooning, and the tone is a little lighter, but it still gets a little dark. So if people are looking for additional Batman Ninja Turtles content, they should check out that series as well, and it's a 6-issue miniseries as well. It's like, it has nothing to do with our story, it's not a continuation or anything, but it's still really good, and I get nothing for recommending it. It's just a great story.
Well, I guess my last question would be what is it like to, as an artist myself, as someone who like to get my art out there, and there's other people who want to get their art out there so they can, for one, want to work with DC or Marvel or Dark Horse or something like that. So like, is there any tips that you can give or any advice you can give to other artists out there that want to try to do that?
There's like two aspects of it. The one where the first part of the advice, which I think is the most important, is to draw a lot and hold yourself accountable, where you don't let yourself get distracted by video games or hanging out with friends. Like, if you're hanging out with friends, that's great, but draw while you're hanging out with them. If you're playing video games, at least in my opinion, you're wasting your time. that's time that could be spent drawing. Unless you're like really stressed, then maybe it's a good stress reliever if you want to play, like 20 or 30 minutes of video games. But that's giving you, playing video games specifically, is giving you upfront fun, but it's not going to give you long-term goals, I guess, unless you're going to be a professional video game player. Those do exist. But if you're wanting to draw comic books, you need to draw a lot. And there's a million things to learn. There's a lot of almost hidden parts of the art form that you don't realize whenever you're looking at a comic book, that they're done so well that they almost become invisible. Stuff about eye flow through the page, about keeping characters consistent, using framing devices to guide the eye that you don't even that you that was cool.
It's no problem.
That's cool. It was like a nice dance though in the background. But then aside from that, aside from all the mechanics of just being really dedicated and drawing all the time, because that's the only way any of us get any better, after that, getting your work in front of people is another big hard task. Now, the fact that there's social media out there, that means that you can post your best stuff online and only keep your best stuff that's out there. People might download it or share it around, but keep your best like 5 to 10 pages kind of on your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DeviantArt, and whatever else the kids are using. So that if you do happen to catch the interest of an editor at a convention or through email or through social media, it's easy for them to find your best work, because if you have your old stuff on there, they're not going to say, oh, look how far he's come. They're going to see the first stuff they see, they're going to assume is a good example of the work you'll do for them, and if it's not good, they'll just keep going. They've got to find good artists, So keep your best stuff online and try not to be pestering to the editors and the art directors, but you got to let them know that you're there. And so occasionally if they're posting about Spider-Man stuff, then maybe do a Spider-Man page or a couple of Spider-Man drawings and then link that to them and just say, hey, check this out. Don't tag them like they're a part of it, but maybe just do the @ symbol, for Instagram or for Twitter or something, just to let them know that you've done it. And just keep persistent with it. You'll get a million no's, but you need to, just a couple of yeses make all the difference in the world.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So is there any social media you'd like to tell anybody that you have, or anybody to let you know that you're...
I'm Freddie Art is what I am on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on Tumblr as Freddie Art as well, I believe. And then Freddie Williams II is what I am on Facebook. And but I'm maxed out on friends requests or whatever it is. But I think people can still follow me and see what I post on there. I believe that's how it works. But that's pretty much it. I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted on it in like 2 years. But it's got a bunch of, it answers some of these questions. Like it talks about what to include in a comic book penciling portfolio. Talks about some of the materials we use and stuff. So if people want to check that out, that's also Freddie Art. Although it's old and I don't update it much, it still has some relevant info on it.
Again, well, thank you so much. Everybody can check out Freddie's social media in the description, and just, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
my pleasure.